Hello, Tim from Baldy Tim's Reviews. Welcome to video 7 of our bedroom redecorating and refurbishment series. And what I'm going to do today is get some wallpaper on this wall behind me. Now, if you've been watching the previous videos, you'll know that the plan of action was to originally paint all 4 walls. And in my last video I did paint 3 of them in a nice sort of light grey colour, grey wisp from Dulux Trade. So I've got to do this wall, or paper this wall, because I've decided that the wall is far too rough really to get away with painting it. So I'm going to try and, I'm going to wallpaper it instead to cover up the roughness, which is the classic reason, of course, why you do wallpapering anyway. And I think it will just make a nice feature wall. It is luckily the right wall to have as a feature wall, the one that the head of the bed goes against. So I think it's going to work out really, really well. So I'm going to just show you a couple of things and then we'll make a start with this wallpapering. So before I show you the wallpaper, this is the wall. I'm probably on the video, it doesn't look too bad actually, and I don't know, there is quite a lot of roughness down here. Yeah, there it is. I think it is picking up on the video. And down there, and as you sort of walk along or make your way along this wall, there is absolutely loads and loads of this sort of roughness. Again, on the video it probably doesn't show too much, but believe me, to fill and sand all of those down, it would have taken an absolute sort of month of Sundays. So I came to the decision that it's just going to be a lot quicker to wallpaper it. And this is the wallpaper that we've decided to go for. I don't know if you can see, it's got a nice kind of slight vertical striping to it, and it's all glittery. You'll probably just about see that there. I'll show you obviously show you the finished job, where I anticipate that will stand out a lot more. Now this is the paper that we've got, this Lery stuff, L-E-R-Y, from B&Q, or Good Home as they seem to call a lot of their products these days. And I'm anticipating this to be quite a easy wallpapering job. As you can see there from that little symbol on the left, it's paste the wall. It's a paste the wall type of wallpaper, which is always so much easier than having to paste the wallpaper itself and then having to sort of wait for the paste to soak in. And also, well, that symbol there kind of means that it's well, basically there's no pattern matching, which, as you can sort of see, there's no pattern to it at all, so you can just hang each strip of wallpaper without having to worry what the next one's doing from a pattern point of view. So yeah, very, very easy job I reckon this is going to be, hopefully. Now, one very important thing you've got to do is when you've sort of got multiple rolls, you've got to look out for these batch numbers here, which is that one there, that bigger number, ending with 739, and you just got to make sure those two match up, which, as you can see, that's 739 as well, so they match up. So you've got to match your batch numbers all the time, otherwise what happens is, yeah, because all these rolls are made slightly differently from batch to batch, and sometimes you can see there is, even though it's exactly the same wallpaper, the kind of batches can be slightly different, and if you mix batches you can get some very, very bad results. So just a couple of pointers. So what I'm going to do is go and get my tools, and then I'll show you the tools that I'll be using to hang this stuff. Okay, I thought I'd give you a quick overview of the tools that I'm going to be using today. So starting over from this side, first of all we've got a couple of buckets there. One of them is going to be for the wallpaper paste itself, which I'll be mixing up in a minute, and then the other one I'll just be putting half a bucket of fresh water in there just to wipe excess paste off and things like that. So that's that. That's a brush to put the paste onto the walls. That's a sponge to sponge down with the fresh water. I've got my wallpaper adhesive, again by the Fat Hog range of Johnson's decorating centres. I've used this quite a lot before and it works really well. We've got a knife for trimming the wallpaper. It's one of these sort of things like that. Don't know if you can quite see that there, but it actually sort of comes out, locks into place once you come off the trigger thing there. But the beauty of these is because you need to change your blades or have a sharp blade all the time with wallpapering, and I'll probably have to sort of make sure I change the blade at least a couple of times during this job, if not more. But these are brilliant because all you do is you get a pair of pliers, which I've got here as well, and there's lines, sort of diagonal lines all the way down this blade, and all you do is you kind of put your pliers like that and then snap that off like so, and you've effectively now got a brand new blade on there. So really, really useful tool. And obviously I've got my pair of pliers there ready to work with that as well. This is a special wallpapering brush. So once the wallpaper's on the walls, you kind of work the wallpaper down onto the wall with that, and it just gets rid of air bubbles and just make sure the wallpaper goes on nice and flat and smooth. So that's again a very useful bit of kit. Pair of wallpapering scissors to hopefully probably won't be using these too much. I'll be doing most of the trimming with the knife, but that will just be there to cut the wallpaper to length. Talking of which, got my tape measure there. I've already measured it. I'm going to be cutting these bits of wallpaper to 2.4 meters. That's the length I'm going to need. That's just a pack of spare blades for the knife thing, but I don't think I'm going to need those. I think I've got enough in there already for today. That thing's like a stirrer to mix up the wallpaper adhesive. And finally, I've got a screwdriver because I've got a couple of sockets to paper around, and I'm going to need to loosen those sockets off. Okay, so it's time to mix up a bit of wallpaper paste, ready to go. This is the fresh water bucket I was telling you about, with a sponge there ready to mop up any sort of excess kind of paste that we end up having. And in this bucket I've only got probably can't see it, but I've got a couple of inches of cold water. Important to be cold water. That's cold as well, but you can have it warm if you want, because that doesn't matter so much. And I've got my wallpaper paste here ready to go. We probably won't need a great deal of this, so what I'd like to do is to kind of go in a circular motion like this with a stirrer to sort of kind of get the water going around in a spiral, and then I kind of sort of just sprinkle in the paste like that, and then as it's going in a spiral it can be sort of starting to mix, and then to mix it again, carry on mixing it. You actually have to mix it for a little while. I think that's probably going to be it as far as the amount of paste powder is concerned. A little goes a long way. You know, you really don't need much of this stuff at all. Yeah, in fact, the box, I think it's of about 5 little bags of paste like that. I think I've got 5 of those, and that's supposed to, or maybe even 6 of those, and that's supposed to do 36 rolls of paper. So one of these bags can do sort of 5 or 6 rolls quite comfortably. So I don't need very much at all. So it's important to just stir it for a minute or two, just until the stuff starts dissolving. And then once it's started dissolving, you can actually leave it, and just leave it for another 2 minutes, and it will then be pretty much ready to go. Yeah, I can feel it starting to get pretty gloopy now, so I'll just leave that thing in there, and we'll just wait for it to kind of get to the stage where it's ready to go on the walls. Okay, this is really sort of set to a nice consistency. It's really thick. I don't know if you can see that dripping off of there, but it's probably, I'd say it's the consistency of a really, really thick soup. So that's kind of where I like to have it at. And that just means it's going to stick really, really well. Okay, another really important thing to do before you start is to draw a vertical line down the wall, and that will just ensure that you're not going to put sort of your strips of wallpaper on sort of wonky or anything like that, because what you do is you just make sure the sheet or the edge of the first sheet of paper is right up against the vertical line all the way from top to bottom. And then that means that one's 100% straight. And then of course, as you go along with your subsequent strips of paper, you just line up the edges from the new sheet that you're working on with the previous one. And that's the only thing you have to do to ensure that everything is totally straight. So what I like to do is you can do it with the tape measure, but I just get a roll, one of the rolls of paper, and go from the edge that you're starting from there, and you get a pencil, and you don't go right on the edge of the paper, but you just come in an inch, and I've already got a mark there anyway. And the reason you come in an inch or so is just in case there's any kind of discrepancy on your corners there, you know, that the sort of top's a little bit out or the bottom's a little bit out. You know, if you kind of did it exact, you might sort of start off fine at the top, but if it then sort of goes out of plumb at the bottom, you know, your wall does, or the corner of your wall does, that'd be really annoying, because you'd then have a little bit of a gap at the bottom. But just coming in an inch is a little tip for you that will prevent that from happening, unless you got somewhere with really crazy walls, and then you might have to sort of come in a couple of inches, but I know this is going to be more or less fine. So once we've got the mark on there, once you've got your mark on there, you can take, and it's best to have a nice quite big level there, and what we do is we line it up with the mark, and we get the bubbles so that we know we're totally plumb. So that's just about it, and we just draw a line down like so, and then I have to come down and do it all the way down to the bottom. So get that plumb again, that's just about there. Down we go. And just one more time here, right down to the skirting, so we are plumb right there. There we go, that's all there is to it. Okay, so that's my plumb line drawn, ready to line the first sheet of paper up against. All I need to do now is just paste up the wall there, and then I can get the first sheet of paper hung. Now the beauty of this stuff, paste the wall no pattern match type of paper that I got from B&Q, is you don't even need a pasting table, because you know, or wallpaper table, because the paste just goes straight on the wall, which I'll show you in a minute. So if you're sort of thinking, I'd really love to wallpaper a wall or two, oh, but you know, that means I've got to buy one of those sort of pasting tables. Well, if you get this stuff or something like it, you don't have to bother with that. And I've just literally cut the first length, already cut it to 2.4 meters, which is the length I need. And I just did that on the living room floor, got the tape measure, sort of put that on the floor, cut it to, or measured it to 2.4 meters cut, and the first sheet's there, ready to go. Now, it probably doesn't matter too much with this particular stuff, but with a lot of wallpapers, you need to sort of hang it. There is a top and a bottom to the stuff. Well, with most of them, or pretty much all of them, the way it comes off the roll, there's sort of a leading edge of the roll there. Yeah, very much like a bit of, you know, toilet roll sort of roll. And as that kind of comes off the roll, if you can imagine it like that, with that coming up, well, the way it comes off the roll is the top of it. So that leading edge there that I'll be finding shortly is the top. So that's how you know and remember which way round it should be hung. But don't lose track of, once you've cut it, don't lose track of where you've cut. Maybe put a little mark, pencil mark on the back with a T for top, so that you don't lose track of where your sort of tops and bottoms have gone. So anyway, let's get some wallpaper going on up here. So, silly me, I've already hung the first bit of wallpaper there, but I forgot to hit the play button on this camera anyway, which is a bit annoying, but I'll show you me hanging the next strip. But we've just got to trim top and bottom, so I'm going to use my knife here, just bring it in to something like that. And what I like to do with this is, there's a little tool on the back of this knife, which is basically a scorer, I think. So you can sort of just run it along the top of the skirting board. You can do it by feel to give you a nice sharp line there, and then you just get the blade on there and you just run along the top of the skirting board. And I'm hoping, because this is nice and sharp, that will just go right the way through, and that will just come away pretty much. Oh, there's a couple of little snaggy bits. So you might just have to work your way along any bit that snags or hasn't quite gone all the way through. But yeah, that's not too bad. There we go. So that's trimmed at the bottom. And I'll just get the brush there just to finish off. That's the first bit of paper on. So I'm just going to have a little bit of a sponge down. So just wring the sponge out so it's pretty dry. And just sort of go over that. I like to just go over that like that, just to get rid of any either any bubbles, but also any bits of wallpaper paste that's still on there. And you just sort of go along there, wipe it off this ceiling as well, where you might have got some paste. Now you don't have to get every single bit of bubble out, because any small ones tend to just go by themselves for the most part. But you just need to make sure the sort of bigger ones are gone, Okay, so that's that one on. So I'll get set up and do the next sheet. I'll try and remember to turn this camera on so you can actually see it a bit better. That was a bit annoying, wasn't it, that I didn't turn that on. Right, I've got my second sheet cut, going to 2.4 metre length. I've got the next section of wall going that way, pasted up. Now I actually just sort of paste like a width or two of this at a time, not the whole expanse of wall, because if you do that, by the time you get down to the far end, you may well find that the paste is starting to dry out, and then this stuff won't stick as well. So that's what I do, just go yeah, a width or two of this at a time. So let's pop this on. So I like to just go a little bit too high so that the wallpaper is sort of curving round the top there. And we just sort of line that up. So all I'm doing is just purely and simply lining this up against the first strip of paper, and then that way, if I do that, I know that it's 100% sort of plumb and straight. So that is on. So just work our way down again, and you can come across onto the first strip as well, just to work out, well, work the join down, because that's where sheets of wallpaper start peeling, of course, sort of on the joins. But we can sort of just make sure that they go completely flat. So what we do is we come down in our herringbone pattern, like so, like that, like that, like that, and out, down, out that way, down, and then when we get to the bottom, use that to really drive it into place. And yeah, that has gone on quite nicely. And the first join's not looking too bad. Might just need a bit of smoothing down, but that will sort of sort itself out as well. One thing I could have done is, sometimes as wallpaper gets older, they kind of pull apart a little bit at the joins, and because it's sort of white underneath and this is sort of a darker colour, what might happen is you'll see little white lines as they pull apart. I'm not that bothered about it myself, but had I been doing this professionally or just a much more sort of classy job, I'd have probably got some grey paint and just sort of run it up, just where the joins, worked out where the joins are likely to be, and then just sort of done a 4-inch strip, vertical strip of paint, grey paint all the way up. And that way, if your wallpaper does start pulling apart, you'll just see grey underneath, which won't be nearly as obvious as white. So that's another little trick, but I haven't done it on this because, well, A, I forgot, and B, it's probably only going to start pulling apart when this gets pretty old anyway. Let's get my knife again and let's trim this bottom bit first of all. So I'll get my little sort of scoring end of the knife that these have got, or some of them have got, and just score it along the top of the skirting, and then open this knife up, really press it into there and kind of go along a bit, and then go along and just cut through, making sure the knife stays on the top of the skirting board So we're right at the end, it's come away. Yeah, it's come off so cleanly, nice clean cut through, and that's a really lovely sharp line at the bottom of the paper on the top of the skirting board there, so pretty happy with that. Top as well, same process. And then get my knife, go into it. And away, along we go. And again, that's gone pretty cleanly. Yeah, that's looking like a nice line up there. So again, I'll get my sponge and just sponge down now. Again, come down in your herringbone pattern, like so. Just to work out any last bubbles. And I like to just work the sponge along the join as well. And then down we go. And let's just work that join a little bit more. That's looking quite good. That's the second sheet on. And yeah, it's looking really good. If you can see any little bubbles, don't worry about those because they will work their way out as this dries out. Okay, what I'll do is just going to paste the next section now. So get some paste on the walls, and then the next bit of a strip of wallpaper, and I reckon I've got another 1, 2, and then I'll start getting to awkward bits where I've got to start going into corners and round sockets and that sort of thing. So we will see. I will show you how that's all done, but let's just do these 2 easy ones to start with. So again, we get about an inch, a little inch strip at the top, like that. And then we just slide it up to into place alongside on the previous strip. And just working our way down. That one's not gone in quite so nice, so don't be afraid to kind of start again, as it were, almost, or just sort of, yeah, if it's not going on nicely, or at least sort of do part of it starting again like I've just done there. There we go. All right, that's enough of that. So I've even though I've only done 2 strips of paper so far, I've already stripped off one of these blades, as I sort of demonstrated earlier, because this is slightly on the flimsy side, this paper, which means as soon as this goes any kind of blunt, it sort of just starts dragging the paper rather than cutting it nicely. Even with it 100% sharp, it still does it, purely and simply because the paper itself is just a little bit on the flimsy side. So you just got to be careful, especially when you get to the ends, not just go wild, just work that knife in nice and carefully and easily. And yeah, there we go, that's away. Okay, so we have got the first hard one to do, because not only have I got to cut into the corner, which is the same sort of thing as cutting top and bottom, but obviously a lot longer stretch of cutting to do. And I've also got a paper around this socket as well. So power off and pull the socket away. You don't have to sort of undo the screws totally. Unfortunately, I've got quite long screws on this one, so it's coming away from the wall by a good centimetre, which should be enough to get this sorted out. So I'm going to hang it starting from the top again and bring it down. Okay, so I've hung this just about the same way as all the other ones, but this time I'm pushing it into there as well. Now, this is where it gets tricky, because that is my socket there. So what we need to do is get a couple of things ready to go. So what I need to do is find the top of my socket and then just feel where it is. That's kind of it there, and then the bottom's there. So somewhere in the middle, just got to basically make a little bit of a hole. So I've marked where I can see it. So what I do is I punch that through there, and then I feel where the corners are, and then I kind of just cut up to, or just slightly past the corners, like that. And cut up that way, and so you've got a little flap like that, and then coming down into that corner, and finally down to that corner of the socket. So it's almost like a cross of St George, a cross of St Andrews, like a diagonal cross like that you're cutting. And then once you've got that cut, you can cut, again, feel where the edge of the socket is, and then just come in a little bit and cut the majority of the flaps away. So let's do it on all four edges. Also, sort of just be a bit conservative, because if you haven't cut enough away and you need to cut a bit more, you can sort of come in. But once you've cut too much away, obviously you can't do the other way around, can you? So, so you just got to be a little bit careful the way you do this. So once you've got to that stage, there's still a little bit too much on the bottom there, so cut that away a little bit more. There we go, right, and then once you've done that, you can start working the bits of paper inside the socket like so. Oh, there's a bit too much on that one as well, let's just cut that away. Yeah, and then if you cut it right, it'll just cut, just tuck in nicely. quite enough cut there. Let's just do a bit more. Tuck that in there. Just cut a bit of that away. And then hopefully that'll tuck in there as well. Something like that. I've just got a little bit more to tuck in there and we're home. So once that's done, you can just smooth out as you have been. And then you get into these corner bits here, and what I like to do is like to get a pair of scissors and just work it right into the corner, and then you can sort of see where you've made that mark, and then just cut up to that as well, and then that just makes that nice and easy to do as well. Okay, so let's trim that bottom bit away, get that done and out of the way. Okay, we're just coming down the edge here, the edge of my new wardrobe that you saw me do the other week, and just a question of working this knife all the way down carefully. Gets a bit tricky once you get to the bottom. We'll have to sort of turn around and come back up the other way for that. Just for the last 6 inches. That's it. There we go. Coming down in my herringbone again. Just make sure I've got any excess paste off. Okay, right, so all we've got to do is screw the socket back up. That's not looking too bad. I think that's looking quite sharp around that socket, and we've got a nice sharp line all the way up the edge there. It's looking nice and sharp, and all the way along the top there as well. So just got 2 more strips down the other end, another socket, and then the far corner. So sooner we get those started, sooner the whole job will be done. Okay, down to the next socket. So just going to repeat what I did on the last one. So kind of find the middle of it, somewhere around about there. Just score it a bit or make a little hole and work our way out to the corners. Right. Okay, that's that last socket done. Only had 2 of them to paper around, so power can go back on and get that last strip into place. This one is actually quite, it's way too wide to work with, so I'm going to roughly cut it just so I've got a much more manageable strip to work with, and then I think we'll continue from there. Right, so I've cut about 4 inches away. That should make that a lot better or a lot easier to work with now. Okay, so that is the job done. So that is that feature wall completely wallpapered with this new wallpaper, and that didn't really take that long actually. And it's coming up for 1:30 now. I think I probably started that somewhere around 11 o'clock I think. So 2.5 hours from start to finish to do that wall. It might have been under actually. Probably would have been, because a lot of the time I was fiddling around with cameras and bits and pieces. So yeah, that paper went on pretty nicely, pretty smoothly, and very happy with the final result. I'll sort of take the camera around so you can look at the edges and look at the job in more detail in a minute. So that is the completed job, the feature wall done from end to end down there. So I don't think I did too bad a job. Got a nice straight line down the side. It's all looking nice and sharp around the sockets. I think you can just see the texture there of the new wallpaper. I think it looks pretty good. Unfortunately it's a bit of a dull day, but I think on a bright sunny day the sparkly bits will really sort of sparkle and look nice. But it's looking nice and sharp along the skirting board there. And the other socket, yeah, really pops out against the sort of grey of the wallpaper, doesn't it? And then as we go up that side, got a nice sharp edge up there. And yeah, it's not too bad along the top either. A couple of bibble bobbles, but that's more the line of the ceiling really. But yeah, overall it's a nice, crisp, sharp look. So yeah, I think it looks really effective. So you can just see in the corner there, that's the light grey on the walls that I did the other day. And then yeah, you got the dark grey with the sparkly bits in and the textures of the wallpaper. So yeah, this is really coming on. So the next job is to change that light. Got a nice new light to put up there, and then that really is everything that I'll be doing pretty much over and done with. It's just got to get a carpet. So I'm going to order a carpet online, get it delivered. I've got a carpet fitter lined up. Carpet fitting's not something I can do, so I'm going to get a guy just to come in and quickly pop it in for us. And then after that, it's just a question of waiting for the new bed to arrive, the new furniture to arrive. And but yeah, the end of this project is in sight at long last. So I hope you've enjoyed that wallpapering video, and I hope you got a bit of value from it, a few tips, a few ideas of what can be done and how wallpapering can be relatively easy. You know, I did all that without a pasting table, and yeah, I think it's gone on, looks like a reasonably professional job. Very, very happy with it. Like I say, only took a couple of hours, 2.5 hours. The wallpaper itself was from B&Q, and I think it's £18 a roll, so I got through 2 rolls there for this. So the total cost was £36 to do that feature wall. Already had some wallpaper paste anyway, so that didn't cost anything. So yeah, very, very happy with this, and very happy with how everything's progressing now. So I think the next video, I think I said last time it was going to be the next video, but it's definitely going to be the next video, is I'll be changing the light up there. So I'll do a quick little video on that very shortly. So if you want to see that, please like and subscribe to this channel. And I'll be back with another Baldy Tim's reviews very shortly. So thanks for watching.